Good morning, my dear students. Today we are going to complete our previous lesson, negative integer power. Follow exercise number 2. Evaluate each of the following. Number 1, 8 raised to power 1 times 8 raised to power negative 2 over 8 raised to power negative 3. We have studied before when we have here any base raised to negative power, we must change its place to be positive power. But Mr. Hazim here prefer when we have a simplify, we must do the simplest form as a first and finally change its place if we have here negative power. How? Like that. In exercise number 1 here, when we multiply two like base, we have studied before, we add their power. In numerator here, when we multiply two like base, we must add their power to be 8 raised to power negative 1. Because we have here 1 plus negative 2, it will be 8 raised to power negative 1. And here 8 raised to power negative 3, keep as it. And when we here divide two like base, we write 8 as it and subtract their power. It will be equal 8 raised to power negative 1 minus negative 3. Again, 8 here keep as it and subtract their power. It will be negative 1 minus negative 3. It will be equal 8 raised to power 2 and finally equal 64. By doing the same steps, the first time we simplify, this is the first step. We have here two like base in the numerator, we must add their power. Don't change their places in case we have here negative power. Mr. Hazim prefer to simplify as the first time. Like that, we write 7 here and add their power. In numerator, it will be 7 raised to power 3 and keep in the denominator 7 raised to power 3 as it. And dividing them by subtracting their power, it will be 7 equal 7 raised to power 0, finally equal 1. Exercise number 3, we have here the same, we must add the power in numerator and also add their power in denominator. It will be equal number 3, 2 raised to power 3 and down it will be 2 raised to power negative 1. And write 2 and subtract their power. It will be 2 raised to power 3 minus negative 1. It will be equal 2 raised to power 4, finally equal 16. Exercise number 4. We have here a problem. In this denominator, we have here 2 raised to power 2, also raised to power 2 outside the brackets. The first time when we have here two powers, we must multiply both of them. And what about the numerator here? By doing the previous steps, we write 2 as it and add their power. It will be number 4 equal 2 raised to power 0 up over 2 raised to power 4 down. And by doing the same steps, write 2 and subtract their power. It will be 2 raised to power 0 minus 4. It means equal 2 raised to power negative 4. In this case, we must change the place of 2 raised to power negative 4. Why? Because we have here negative power. So it will be equal 1 over 2 raised to power 4. Finally equal 1 over 16. Okay? Exercise number 5. We have here 3 raised to power negative 2. All of them raised to power 3. We must multiply their power. And down in the denominator, we have here like 2 bases, and we multiply both of them, so we must add their powers. Number 5, it will be equal 3 raised to power negative 6 over 3 raised to power negative 8. And write 3 down and subtract their power. It will be equal 3 negative 6 minus negative 8 equals 3 raised to power 2. Finally equal 9. Exercise number 6. We have here 9 raised to power 3 multiply 9 raised to power 1 over 9 raised to power 5. All these brackets raised to power negative 3. Mr. Hazim here prefer to distribute this power above all number inside these brackets as first. How? By multiplying their power. So it will be equal, number 6, 9 raised to power negative 9, and here 9 raised to power negative 3 over 9 raised to power negative 15. How? Because when we here multiply negative 3 by 3, it will be equal 9 negative 9. And here 9 raised to power 1, when you multiply their power, it will be equal 9 raised to power negative 3. And the same with the denominator, when we multiply their power, it will be equal 9 raised to power negative 15. And then we can simplify them by write 9 in the denominator and add their power. Sorry, write 9 in the numerator and add their power. It will be equal 9 raised to power negative 12. And write 9 raised to power negative 15 as it. And now we subtract their power. Write 9 and subtract negative 12 minus negative 15. It will be finally equal 9 raised to power 3 equals 729. Let's see more exercise to understand this lesson. Exercise number 3 here. Simplify each of the following and write the result in terms of positive, where the denominator doesn't equal 0. Number 1 here. He gave me 7x raised to power negative 1. We haven't here any simplify to do it. How to solve this? We keep 7 as it and change places of x power negative 1, because I told you before, when we have here negative power, we must change its place to change into positive power. So it will be equal 7 over x power 1. It means 7 over x. The same, number 2, we have here x raised to power negative 1 and y raised to power 2. We need here to change what? To change place of x power negative 1 because it has negative power, and keep y raised to power 2 as it. So, number 2, it will be like that. Y raised to power 2 over x raised to power positive 1. It means y raised to power 2 over x. Here, number 3, we have a raised to power negative 2 and b raised to power negative 3. Both of them have negative power, so we must change both places. How? Like that. We can write both of them in this form: a raised to power negative 2, b raised to power negative 3 over 1. And we change their position by both them in the denominator. It will be equal 1 over a raised to power positive 2 and b raised to power also positive 3. Number 4 here, we have here simplify. So Mr. Hazem told you before, we prefer to do the simplest form as a first and change its place if we have negative power. So to solve this, we must do the simplest form as a first time. We write x here and add their power because we multiply 2 like base. So it will be equal x raised to power negative 2, because when we add their power 3 plus negative 5, it will be equal x raised to power negative 2, and we change its place like that. It will be equal 1 over x raised to power positive 2. The same with number 5. We have here x raised to power positive 3 and x raised to power negative 2 and x raised to power negative 1. We do the simplest form as the first time. So it will be equal, number 5, x raised to power 0, because when we add 3 plus negative 2 plus negative 1, it will be equal x raised to power 0. We didn't need here to change its place, so it will be equal 1. Because here the the power here, it will be 0. So any number or any symbol raised to power 0, it will be equal 1. Number 6, c raised to power negative 5 over c raised to power 2. When we have here 2 like base and we divided both of them, we subtract their power, so we must simplify them as a first time like that. Number 6, it will be equal c raised to power negative 7, because when we subtract negative 5 minus 2, it will be c raised to power negative 7, and change its place to change its power like that, it will be equal 1 over c power positive 7. The same, x power 7 divided x power negative 5, we simplify it. It will be equal, when we divide, we subtract their power, so it will be equal x raised to power 12. We didn't need here to change its place. Okay. Here, number 8, we have a raised to power negative 2, raised also to power 3. As the first time, we must multiply their power like that. It will be equal a raised to power negative 6, and change its place. It will be equal 1 over a raised to power positive 6. Let's see number 9. We have here the same b raised to power negative 1. All of them raised to power negative 3. We must multiply their power as the first time. So number 9, it will be equal b raised to power 3. Number 10, we have here a raised to power 2 multiply a raised to power negative 5. All of them raised to power 2. The first time, Mr. Hazim preferred to distribute this power by multiplying this power by each one inside this bracket. So number 10, it will be equal a raised to power 4 and a here raised to power negative 10. And by simplifying them, it will be equal a raised to power negative 6, because we add their power when we have two like base. Finally, it will be equal 1 over a power 6. Number 11, x raised to power 2 raised to power negative 3 multiplied by x raised to power negative 3 raised to power negative 2. As the first time, we distribute the power to be number 11 in this form. X raised to power negative 6 multiply x raised to power positive 6. And because we have here the same base, we write x down and add their power to be x raised to power 0 equal 1. Number 12, we have here y raised to power 5 over y raised to power negative 2, and all of them raised to power negative 3. We distribute this power above all of them. It will be equal, number 12, y raised to power negative 15 over y raised to power 6. Write y and subtract their power. It will be y raised to power negative 21. And change its place. It will be equal 1 over y positive 21. Number 13, x raised to power 2 multiply x power negative 3 and over x raised to power negative 4 multiply x raised to power 1. How to solve this? By simplify it. It will be like that. It will be in the numerator x raised to power negative 1 because we add their power, and denominator x raised to power negative 3 because also we add their powers. Finally, we divided them, so we write x and subtract their power, negative 1 minus negative 3. It will be equal x raised to power 2. We don't need here to change its place. Let's see number 14. X raised to power 2, all of them raised to power negative 3. And multiplying by x raised to power negative 1 raised to power 2. Over x raised to power negative 3 multiply x raised to power negative 4. By distributing the power here, it will be like that. X power negative 6 multiply x power negative 2 over x by negative 3 raised to power negative 3 multiply x raised to power negative 4, and by simplifying the numerator it will be equal x raised to power negative 8, and denominator it will be x raised to power negative 7. And when we have here divide, we write x and subtract their power to be x raised to power negative 1. Finally, it will be equal 1 over x. Number 15, we have here or the symbol raised to power negative 1. As the first time, we must distribute this power above all symbol inside these brackets. So, number 15, it will be equal x raised to power 2 multiply y raised to power positive 1. Y here, it will be raised to power positive 3, and x raised to power negative 1. We have here a simplify. How? We have here x raised to power 2 over x raised to power negative 1. We can dividing both of them. How? Write x here and subtract their power. it will be equal x raised to power 3. By doing the same with y, we have here y raised to power 1 over y raised to power 3. We keep multiplying between them as it and write y and subtract their power 1 minus 3, it will be equal y raised to power negative 2. We can simplify both of them, so how to write it in simplest form? We must change the place of y here only because it raised to negative 2 here. So finally it will be equal x raised to power 3 as it over y raised to power positive 2. Finally, we need to solve number 16, but take care, it's so difficult. How to solve that? The first time, I need to distribute this power above all symbol and number inside these brackets, like that. 16. Keep a raised to power negative 1 over b raised to power 2 as it. Multiply. The second part here, it will be a raised to power 2 over 2 raised to power negative 2 and b raised to power negative 4. Now, when we have here two like base in numerator, how to simplify them? I told you before, write a and add their power. It will be equal a raised to power 1. And also when we have here the same base in denominator, we write b and add their power and keep 2 negative 2 as it in denominator. So it will be like that, 2 raised to power negative 2 times b power negative 2. And how to write this in simplest form? We have here a raised to power positive 1 and here 2 raised to power negative 2 and b also raised to power negative 2. We need to change the place of both denominator here. To be in this form, write 2 raised to power 2 up, a raised to power 1 as it, b raised to power positive 2 up. Finally, it will be equal 4ab raised to power 2. Thanks for your listening and goodbye in the next lesson with Mr. Hazem. Goodbye.